Okay. Just waiting for my TikTok audience. Oh, hello. Just reading your names here. Um, okay. Oh, thanks for sharing, Erica. Shared the live. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. I only do this every day. I don't know why I got stumped there. I guess because you get used to saying the same thing, you don't even hear yourself anymore. And then every so often you go, what was I saying? Anyway, that was silly. So I'd love to know where you're from. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. It's a gorgeous sunny day today. And so I'm going to get on my bike later on. I work out every day and I try and mix it up. If it's nice out, I try and get on my bike or do a hike. But otherwise, I'm at the gym. So appreciate you getting on live. Thanks so much, Erica. I really appreciate that. I do this pretty much every single day, sometimes on weekends, because sometimes on weekends, I'm maybe on Saturday, usually I'm not always on a live. Because I do group coaching and that on Saturday, so it's kind of busy. So anyway, while I'm just waiting to hear where you're from, while we're waiting, I usually wait till Oklahoma. Hi, Oklahoma. You've been here before, haven't you? Mariah West. Dubai. You've been here before too, haven't you? Simple Life. Oh, I can't read that. Ontario, Canada. What part of Ontario? I'm in Vancouver. California. Hi, California. I love California. I've been there a few times. Dallas, New York City. I'm going to get to Texas one day. I don't know why. Texas is calling to me. Why is that? I don't know what it is. I think Texas is really trendy and popular right now, and I want to go there. New York City. I've been there. I love New York. South Africa, Virginia, Kingsville. Oh, I never heard of that before. Small town, LOL. I'm a big city girl. Even when I live on a busy street, Austin is amazing. Yeah, I'm a vegan, so I was told that it's really good for my whole life revolves around health and fitness. So I was told to go to Austin, but I also want to go to Houston, hi Houston, and Dallas. At least you've helped me so much with my grandson. Excellent. I love hearing that. Anyways, I think I'll get going now. What was I going to say? Oh, about city life. I saw some beautiful condos when I was buying 7 years ago. And there was one that was really nice, but it was just on a side street. But I need the traffic sound. I ended up buying one that's on a busy street because I like traffic sound. Isn't that weird? That's a city person. Okay, Arizona. Hi, Arizona. Someone said they were on here yesterday and they said they're from Flagstone or Flagstaff. Anyway, Arizona. And I said, oh, is that where everyone retires? And they said, no, it's like 7,000 feet up in the mountains. This is so much for me knowing about Arizona. Grand Prairie. Hi, Grand Prairie. I don't think I've been there. Have I? Don't think so. Anyway, I'm going to get going. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on my website, it's bratbusters.com. You can hire me for coaching, buy one of my courses, or download my free behavior board. Hi, Tennessee. The behavior board's different because you're on it too. If you're not accountable, how are your kids supposed to be accountable? It doesn't make any sense to me. So yeah, you got to show kids how this is done. You got to be accountable, and then your kids will be accountable. I want to talk about something with teenagers that's just driving me nuts. I don't know if I should, because most of you don't have teenagers, so I don't want to. Oh, that's the second time someone's asked me, did you see Ryan Allen's post about you? I don't know who Ryan Allen is, and I stay out of stuff like that. Like, if anyone's talking about me on here, I don't, it's usually negative. So, I just don't get into that stuff. It's like school ground stuff, really. Or is it something that I would find interesting, or is it just trashing me? If it's just trashing me, I don't pay attention to that. You have 3 teenagers. I want to say this because how do I explain this here? Okay, when you've got teenagers, when they're making mistakes and they're doing things wrong, we need leverage sometimes to get them to do the right thing. Like, I'll tell you what, I'll hang on to your phone till you finish your homework. I'll do this. The problem is that if you've got a teen that threatens to self harm, they've got you by the knackers. What I mean by that is if they say, if you do that, I'll hurt myself, something like that. And the thing is, you can't ignore that stuff. So they really kind of got you by the knackers. So that's why with teenagers, we really have to work on our bonding, our relationship with them, because the disciplining a teenager, if you think that's an easy thing to do, good luck with that. It's not. If you don't have a really strong bond with them and they don't respect you, it's very hard to discipline them. It just is. So that's why it's so important to bond with your kids when they're young, and you'll sail right through the teen years. But bonding is where this is at. That's why I teach leadership parenting. I'm not fixing kids. I'm teaching parents how to become leaders, because that's where the gold is. You know, it's like a really good sports coach. If you've got a really good sports coach, they're fun. They bring out the best in you, but they have rules. If you break a rule, you have to sit in the bench for an inning. Okay, that's what this is all about. But it's one of the most difficult situations. Yeah, I specialize in teenagers. Believe me, I know how difficult that is. Just for working with them, it's very challenging. But yeah, that's why the bond is everything. It's not about raising obedient little soldiers. It's about raising kids that feel good about themselves. They have high self-esteem. They have a voice, and they respect you because you respect them. That's all I teach. That's everything. It's everything. Okay, let's get into your questions. I shared the live with my sister who has a teenager. Yeah, I just said that. It is so important. Your bond with them is your power. Not power in that you have power over them, but it is your strength as a parent, is to bond with your teenagers. Because if you're really bonded, you're going to be a safe place to land. They're going to tell you everything. And that's what, I told my mother everything. My kids told me everything. That's your strength, is you're a safe place to land. And you listen together, and you listen to show empathy and understanding. You do not listen to gather information to lecture with. That's what a lot of parents do. And that's what pushes your teenager away. The better you get at listening, the more they're going to talk to you, and the more they're going to listen to you. If they ask for advice, don't give them advice. Remember, you listen to understand. You listen to understand, then shut up. That's really hard to do, but it's a skill. You can learn how to do that. So you just listen to understand, and then keep quiet. If they want your advice, they will ask for it. Okay? The better you get at this, they're going to start asking for your advice. Think about it this way. When you're unloading with a friend, you really want them to say, okay, here's what you do. You don't. You want them to say, oh, it's okay. You're great. It's the same with teenagers. Okay. Okay, my 2-year-old hits when she doesn't get her way. What should I do? Okay, it's consistent corrective actions. That's all you can do, because they learn through repetition. Every time she hits, you say no, and you push her hand away. You don't shove them, but you just go no, and you put her hand away just to let her know. She's not going to get away with that. So then when she comes at you again, you just say no, and then you go about your business. It's consistent corrective action. Toddlers only learn through repetition. She doesn't do it at nursery school. That's because she doesn't get away with it there. They don't put up with it. Yeah. How can we keep little kids to stop playing video games before it's too late? How do you stop kids from playing video games? Well, they're going to be very attracted to them. It's very attractive, especially to young boys. They seem to like, it's just more stimulating to their brains. It's all that action and violence, and it can be very, it's like a drug. So yeah, good luck with that. I don't know what to tell you. I think it's part of reality. Like, it's just part of life. It's like saying back in the day, I remember hearing, because I was born in 1960, but I remember hearing about in the 50s, Elvis would come out in that, and all the parents were terrified Elvis was going to damage their kids because he moved his hips. I mean, every generation's afraid of something, and usually it's okay, so don't worry too much about it. That's just the latest Elvis fear. My son keeps giving me the finger. I don't know how old he is. Like, is he 2 or is he 12? If you've got a child who's being very disrespectful towards you, it just means they don't respect you. It has nothing to do with them. You got to work on yourself. You got to set yourself up as a leader. That just says to me that they don't respect you. Because you're not a leader. So work on your leadership skills. I don't fix kids. I teach parents. So work on your leadership skills. That's all I talk about is leadership. Bum, 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 bum. My toddler is 4. Well, 4 is a preschooler to me. 3 and 4 is preschooler, toddler is 1 and 2. That's just in my vernacular. She loves games, but likes fun games, nothing violent. She's addicted. Yeah, we're all addicted to fun. If you're having fun doing something, you're going to be addicted to it, right? Any advice for a child that doesn't respect stepdad? She doesn't feel the need to listen to him. I don't know the circumstances there. I'd have to assess the situation. What's his role? I don't know what kind of power does he have? Is there a dad in the picture? If not, is he like the dad? I can't assess that because I don't know the relationship. There's too many variables with that. 4-year-old hitting feels like he won't grow out of it. Put it on the behavior board. The behavior board's free on my website, bratbusters.com, and you put no hitting on the behavior board as his rule. And just follow through with consequences. Oh, your son giving you the finger, he's 8. Yeah, you got to work on your leadership skills. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on there. Okay, if you want my help, you might want to hire me because that's next level disrespect. But anyway, 2-year-old picks up bad habits from nursery school. I don't know what bad habits those are, so I can't comment on it. Bup, 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 bup. Okay. Son is 8, and I have to ask multiple times to do things, and his reply is he forgot. So he's in charge completely. Yeah, I don't repeat myself. What I do is I say if they have to do something, we're going somewhere, I would say something like this. Okay, and I always give them warning. Okay, in 5 minutes, I want you by the front door. We're leaving in 5 minutes. So if they're not there and they're just completely disrespecting me and they're just on a video game or something, I would go over it and unplug it, and I would say, I told you to be by the front door in 5 minutes. That was 5 minutes ago. So there's going to be a consequence later on when we get home. Do you understand? And there'd be a consequence for ignoring me. It's just disrespectful. And you say it's ADHD, or no, you're not giving them that as an excuse, but you're saying ADHD. Doesn't make any difference to me. I never worked with kids without something after their name. Like my kids didn't have any of that, but all the kids I worked with I called them alphabet kids, ADHD, WXYZ, whatever. So that's where I learned all this, right? Yeah, they never forget something that they know has to be done. Like if there was going to be a consequence, they wouldn't forget. Do you have leadership skills building options? Do you have leadership skill building options? Oh, I don't know what you mean by that. You mean, how do I teach that? Well, I'm on here every day. And if you want something more intensive, then you want to hire me. That's 3 to 5 sessions. 3 sessions with younger kids can often be enough, but it's all about you, right? So, but teenagers is usually 5. Some people want to take me out for a test drive, or some people can only afford 1 session. That's why I've left that 1 session option open. Things will be changing this year. But yeah, if you want, I'll pack as much in as I can. But anyway, or else you've got my free behavior board that teaches you how to give respect to get it, because you're on there too. Now that is free. But it's just a teaching tool. All the coaching stuff that goes around it. I always say coaching is, the behavior board shows you what to do. Coaching is telling you how to do it. So, some people are getting great success just with the behavior board on their own. The behavior board should be introduced at the age of 3. That's when they can start reasoning and thinking, maybe I shouldn't do that. 2-year-olds can't do that. Do you have openings for one-on-one mentorship? I don't know what you mean. What's one-on-one mentorship? I don't know what you mean by that. Bad habits are worse: tantrums, hitting, throwing, screaming at me for things she wants. How old? How old would that one be? Okay. What are your credentials? I don't have any formal credentials. I started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11. Very quickly, just found out I was good at getting the best out of kids. I just was. That's why I was volunteering in daycare centers. What 11-year-old would do that? I just always was drawn to kids and always knew how to get the best out of them. It's just kind of a talent, to be honest. And when I was 20, I thought, well, I should be a child psychologist. So I went to a prerequisite course and they kicked me out after a week. I asked too many questions. What they were saying was garbage. It was this hierarchy stuff, like this authority, I know best. I hate that stuff. I don't do that. And anyway, then all the other students were asking me questions and not the teachers. They couldn't wait to get rid of me. If I'd held out, they probably would have doubled my refund. But no, I just got out. I realized it wasn't for me. I'm sure they've improved. This was 40 years ago. So yeah, and then I've just volunteered in schools and hospitals and institutions, and then I've been coaching for 17 years. So I'm experience based. I've been doing this for 51 years now. So I'm experience based, and some people like that. Other people want the credentials, but a huge portion of my clients have child development degrees, and it's a lot of it's common sense, right? So you can't get that in a degree. Okay, where can we find it? Bratbusters.com is my website. Um, oh, you're not going to like my answer. You are not going to like my answer. Robin, you're not going to like this. Chore suggestions for a 13-year-old boy when I'm very particular about how things are done and cleaned. I'm pretty much as fussy as you can get. I don't clean dirty, I maintain clean. My home always looks exactly the same. I've had a house full of kids and animals and visitors, and my house always looked the same. But I'm a closet cleaner. I don't clean in front of anyone. Even my kids never really saw me cleaning. I get up early and do it. Because to me, that's my own personal choice. I did not put that on my kids. I was very, very concerned with doing that to them because I knew what I was like. And I thought, I don't want them. I'm not OCD though. I know I'm not, because I know I've looked into it and I'm not OCD. I'm just a fuss fart. So I totally get that, but I did not put that on my kids. Done is good enough is what I'd say to them. Done is good enough when I ask them to do something. So yeah, you don't like that answer, do you? But it's just, that's the way I chose to do it, because I thought that's just my personal preference and it wasn't necessary for everybody else to be that way. I pick and choose. It's necessary for you to respect people. That's what I taught my kids. It's necessary that you are nice and respectful. Absolutely non-negotiable. But being fussy and making your bed perfectly, no, not at all. I pick and choose what I push, and I push respect. How do I stop a 2 and 3-year-old to stop just screaming when I say no? It's impossible. How on earth would you do that? Let's say you get upset and you're yelling and someone said to you, no. Would you stop? That's irrational. So yeah, when they lose control of their, it's not emotions, by the way. A tantrum in that is not emotions. It may start that way, but it's just momentum, it's actions. So yeah, that's ridiculous. No one could stop you if you were losing it, right? So yeah, no, you don't do that. Experience is the best. It depends on what it is. I everything I've learned was through children. Children and teenagers taught me, mostly teenagers, troubled teens, taught me most of what I teach. I feel very qualified to talk about this just through experience, because so many of my clients have child development degrees and they still struggle with parenting. I couldn't do what they do. I couldn't be a child psychologist, but some of my clients are, but they struggle with parenting. They're different camps, right? They're just different camps. It's like I couldn't teach. Huge portion of my clients are school staff, teachers, principals, school counselors, huge portion of them. But I couldn't teach. So they're different. One's an institution, one's personal, it's home. It's just different. The advice on how to deal with a 19-year-old who has been disrespectful verbally first time. Please help. I don't know what's going on there. I have no context around why, so I can't answer that. Also, I don't deal with any of that, like adult children, unless they're still living with you and they're somewhat financially dependent upon you. But yeah, I don't know the context around that. I have no idea what's gone on. How can I deal with my 3-year-old short temper, irritation, hitting? Yeah, that just, children don't act like that when they've got a calm leader as a parent. Calm leadership calms them down. They learn how to self-regulate, self-discipline. It's just, they just feel safe. They just learn all that stuff. So work on your own leadership skills. That's all I teach. I teach calm leadership. The 3-year-old, you can start with my behavior board. It's free on my website, bratbusters.com. And it'll teach you how to lead. It's just a teaching tool. And you're asking the same question. A little 4-year-old, dramatic, cries for everything. Same thing. When you're a calm leader, they don't act like that. They just don't. You know, if I'd ever acted like that, you know how my mother would have reacted? this, this would have been my mom. She would have looked at me and gone, "Are you kidding me with this?" Like, it just would not have flown at all. She was great at that. I never was yelled at. I never saw my mom upset, ever. Like, she was very calm. She was the leader, and she was very calm, and never yelled at her or anything. But just, I would have been humiliated to act out in front of my mother. Like, if I'd acted out, she would have gone, "Are you kidding me with this?" I would have gone, "Oops, never mind." Like, I would have been embarrassed because I respected her. So, and that's kind of how my kids were too. I liked my mom. I told her everything. I would have been humiliated to act out in front of my mother. More so in front of my dad. And same with my kids, because the dads were the easier, they just didn't discipline. So, but yeah. Oh, you're asking me how to tell your friend how to parent? Yeah, I never told a friend how to parent. Why would I? It's really none of your business. I know that's a terrible thing to say, but it's none of your business. I don't tell anyone how to live their life, ever. So yeah, I never once ever told anyone how to parent. You're soliciting my advice, but I never offer it, ever, ever. I never have. I remember so many times, I used to do a lot of TV here in Vancouver, and I used to get recognized a lot, and I actually didn't like that. And but people would say, "Oh, you better be good. Look, the Bratbuster ladies here," and I'm thinking, I'm off the clock. I'm not gonna. Why would I want to sit and take notes over your parenting? I'm off the clock. I'm not working. So, but yeah, it's one of the reasons I quit doing all that media stuff. Oh, how do you feel about the gentle parenting making a response to your video? That's irrelevant to me. How do I explain that? Um, I read something and I thought that kind of explains how I feel about it. Oh, it was Ed Milet. Do you know who he is? He's an inspirational speaker, businessman, and everything. And he says, "Let the other guy get nervous." Like, I don't care. I'm not nervous about them. That means nothing to me. So, yeah, let the other guy get nervous. I thought that was interesting. That's just how I feel, because people ask me quite frequently to respond to that stuff, and I'm like, why would I? It doesn't mean anything to me. I know what I'm doing, and yeah, it's irrelevant. I must be a threat, so, and that's okay. That's good. It's good for me. Makes me look good, right? Like, I wouldn't go on anyone else's channel and go after them. I just wouldn't do it. I think it's disrespectful. There you go. I teach respect. So, okay. You give out the best advice. Thank you. If I resonate with you, follow me. If I don't, just go elsewhere. There's someone else out there that you would resonate with. So we're all different, right? I love that. Just thinking about my mom. She was my mentor. I adored. She died in my arms 7 years ago. She was 93. Died in my arms. And it was beautiful. I'm just going to tell you this right now. I adored my mother, and I looked up to her. My dad died when I was younger, and it was horrific. It was the most horrific thing I've ever been through, because I was 14 when he died. So you're still forming. So it just changed who I was. It was horrific. Anyway, my mom was my best friend. I told her everything. She was my mentor. She died, and it was always funny because she had a very good sense of humor. And we used to laugh and say, "Well, on my deathbed, you'll have nothing to say to me because we've said it all." We told each other every single day that we loved each other, how much we meant to each other. And it was just something we did every single day. So on her deathbed, when I was holding her and she was dying, she was doing that gasping, they can evidently still hear. They can't see or feel you, but they can still hear you. And I knew she did, because she did this funny breath when I said this. I said, "You're right, Mom. I've got nothing to say. We've said it all." And I was kind of laughing. And I'm sure she was laughing too, because it was true. If you love someone and care about them, tell them every single day, because you never know when you're going to lose them. I have not one speck of regret, remorse, nothing when it comes to my mother. Nothing. It was full circle, nothing but love, and just, it was beautiful. She died in my arms. It was just the two of us. It was beautiful. If dying can be beautiful. But at 93, she had it wasn't a good 93. She was, not doing well. But anyway, so that's a really, that says a lot about her parenting and how I was raised. I just adored my mother. I thought the world of her. And I like to think I did some of that with my kids too. It's all you can ask for, is on your deathbed, are you just treasured and adored? And I'm getting old. You start to think like that. Okay. Yeah, I never thought death could be beautiful. My dad's was horrific, but my mom's was just beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. Experience is always the best teacher. Not with surgeons or pilots, probably, but yeah, I think with people skills, I really do. And I think some people just get it more than others. I'm not as good with adults for sure, because I'm not mothering. I mother my clients. What's funny is I was saying to someone that, why do I like all my clients? Because I don't like everyone I meet. No one does, right? And why do I like them? It's because I'm mothering them. I feel maternal towards them. And also, I see them at their most vulnerable. People are the most likable when they're vulnerable. We all are. When you're vulnerable, you're very likable. That's what Marilyn Monroe had, that appeal that even women and men always wanted to protect her, is because she was just so vulnerable. So being vulnerable I'm lousy at it, but I'm great at it with kids. But I'm lousy at it with adults. It's weird. I don't know why. But anyway. You had the same experience with your mom when she was dying of cancer. I kind of hesitate to even tell that story sometimes, because not everyone had a wonderful experience with their mother. But, I'm just sharing that because if you do feel that way about your mother, tell her every single day. Tell her every single day. I was 55 when my mom died. I thought, wow, that's really good. To get to 55 and still have a parent, to me, was a big deal, because I lost my dad when I was young. Group hug. Same, I'm so much better with kids. I think I trust kids more. I know, because I'm so maternal and I want to give the most to kids, I'm willing to give the most of myself with children, because they need that. Adults, not so much. They're already formed, right? But with kids, I know being vulnerable, and yeah, I know what they need. They need you to be vulnerable. Okay, how to manage tantrums for autistic toddlers. I don't discuss autism on TikTok, but I deal with that in coaching, one-on-one coaching. That's all done on Zoom if you're interested, but I don't. And one session doesn't do it with autism, because with autism, kids on the spectrum, I throw mud at the wall in week 1. Then week 2, I say, what mud stuck? Like, in other words, what did work and what didn't work. It's trial and error with autism. It's not as straightforward as it is with children without autism. Baby is 13 months old and he keeps screaming when he's sleepy or wants something. Yeah, that's normal. They outgrow that. That's normal. Well, you asked about your grandson. I don't give grandparenting advice, because if I give you advice and the parents don't like it, then I feel like it's not, I only give parenting advice. Oh, my 19-year-old still lives with me. Oh, so that was the one earlier. You'd want to hire me for that. I'd have to assess the whole situation. What's going on, in other words. I can't, that's not a TikTok answer. Too much context missing here. Can I send my teen to live with you? Whoop her into shape. Oh, sure, absolutely. My address is number 1 First Street, Bulgaria. I have been asked to move in with people for a month, and I mean overseas, big money, and it would set me up for life and my kids. I mean, big money, and so yeah, of course I'm not going to do that. But also, they wanted me to fix their kids, and I don't fix kids. I train parents. They weren't budgeable like they weren't going to change, and I wouldn't do that anyway, right? But they weren't going to change. But I thought, yeah, why would I can't fix kids. If then I leave, they might be great with me, but then I leave, they're going to go back and resort exactly the way they were. Of course because they're just bouncing off you. They're just reacting to you, right? How can I hire you? Go on bratbusters.com. My website is at the top of my TikTok here. I'm also on YouTube, but my audience really is on TikTok. Obviously, that's why you're seeing my face like that. It's really funny because people say I look a lot younger on TikTok. Well, TikTok has an automatic filter, I found out. I've tried to get rid of it because I like being older is a benefit in my line of business. But on YouTube, I look 20 years older because there's no filter. I've never wanted to look young. I want to look fit and healthy. I'm obsessed with that. If anyone said, "Well, you don't look very fit or healthy," well, healthy can't always help, but you know what I mean. You don't look very. I would be upset at that. But if someone says, "You look old," I'm like, "Yeah, I am." I'm fine with that. Okay. Okay. My toddler age 2 keeps waking up at 2 a.m. every day. I don't know what's going on there. So usually it's habitual. So I would just put them back to bed and say, no, you stay in bed. But keeps waking up. Are they in a cot? Are they just yelling out? If they're okay. 2 years old, I'm on the border with that one because I don't know if they're 2.5 or 2 or just turned 2. There's a few different ways you can manage that. I'll just give you one idea. Okay. If they're really little, and they're still in a crib, okay? So they're really little, and or even in a little toddler bed. If they wake up at 2 a.m., this is what I might do. I might go in, it's one of the methods. I might go in there with a chair beside the bed, put my hand on the bed that they can hug, or I might rub their little back or whatever. So I might be there. But then I would stop rubbing their back and pretend I'm falling asleep. Do it in the dark or like just a nightlight. Just be there, bored out of your mind. If every time they try to crawl into your lap, put them back on the bed every single time. If they crawl into your lap, they've won. If you get into bed with them, they've won. So you're just sitting there. That's what a leader does. Hey, you're safe. I'm right here. You're safe, but you're staying in bed, and you're not going to wake up. I'm not going to tend to you at 2 a.m. I'm just going to be sitting here. They will eventually get bored and just stop doing it because you're so boring. You're not going to, oh, don't talk to them. Don't look at them. Don't talk to them. You're just sitting there like you're falling asleep. They'll get bored with you. And they'll think, I'm not going to wake up for that anymore, right? Snore. Okay. Fake sleeping. Yeah, it's funny because whenever I tell parents this, they say they actually end up falling asleep and they're sitting up in a chair. Do you ever watch World's Strictest Parents? What do you think of that? No, because I don't watch what anyone else does with kids. I just don't. I stay out of that. It's a danger zone. I just stay away from because I'll tell you why. If I start to see the only person I've ever seen is that nanny show. The reason I watched that show was because I've been approached twice now to do the nanny style show, but with teenagers. So they said, well, watch the nanny show, whatever. I can't remember. It's not the nanny show, but it's the one about what's she called? Anyway, her name's Jo Frost, I think, and she's the nanny, but not the sitcom, but anyway. So I watched that. Anyway, I got kicked, and this was big national TV show that I was being invited on, the big network for all this stuff. And so I said, well, I can't, I need creative control because I will never embarrass a family or a teenager on national TV. They kicked me to the curb so fast. Plus, I specialize in teenagers. Have they found anyone else to do it? No. Anyone with any sense of decency would not embarrass a teenager on national TV. You just wouldn't do it. What if they did themselves in after that? They get humiliated on national TV and then they go and do themselves in, right? Anyway, so I have watched that nanny show, and that's the only one. And also I want to say she does a lot that I don't do. For one thing, she doesn't have kids. She only talks about younger kids. So she has a different background, but she knows how to get respect. She knows how to get respect. Different methods from mine, but that's okay. There's not one path in all this. She has different methods, but she knows how to get respect. She knows what she's doing. But we're just different methods, right? Fake sleeping. That's cute. I notice on TikTok, a lot of people make errors because I know we all do it. TikTok's fast. Like we just get stuff out there. We don't worry about grammar or anything on it because I've written some really embarrassing stuff. That was humiliating. I didn't see, and I can't edit videos once they're gone. So, yeah, you saying be the leader helps me when overwhelmed. Love that. Children desperately need, crave, and want a leader. If you don't do it, they're going to be susceptible to bullying, peer pressure, drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. They're going to go searching for it. They're going to be vulnerable. But yeah, if you are a leader, your children are not vulnerable. They just aren't, because they have that strong leadership behind them. That's why I knew I had a safe place to land. I had my mom to tell everything to, everything. And my kids had that with me too. We were safe places to land. So that's leadership is. And it's not about telling them what to do. Leadership is not the authority. The old-fashioned authority is my way or the highway. I know everything. I never set myself up as being smarter than my kids, ever. I had more wisdom and experience, plus I was their leader. I was their children. They need leadership, right? They needed someone to guide them along to make good choices, but I never told them what to do. I guided them into making good choices on their own. I say, you got two choices. You can do this or there's a consequence. It's up to you. None of my business what you do. So they just learned. They were self-disciplining right through the teen years. Um, oh, good one. Tips and tricks to teach toddlers to not bolt when outside. Okay, they're just toddlers. They're just crazy. One marble and some tumbleweed floating around in there. Put them on a leash. It's about keeping them alive. That's why you buckle them into the car seat too. You got to keep them alive. If they're bolters and runners, put them on a leash. Harness, restraint, whatever you want to call it to be politically correct, it's just a leash, let's face it. But yeah, that's what I would do. Nanny 911, was that it? I love the nanny show, not the, I don't know. It's just the one with that Joe woman. Super Nanny, that was it. Yeah. She knows what she's doing. She's done very well for herself doing that. I would still be uncomfortable with humiliating the families online. But she's probably taught a lot of parents good skills too. But yeah, I have a problem with that. I'm very protective of my clients' privacy, and I couldn't imagine going on national TV and having people embarrassed. It would bother me. Um, but yeah, she knows what she's doing. She knows how to get respect. Yeah, the Kardashians. Yeah, yeah, that show would be very popular, and I'd be very wealthy, guaranteed. They've approached me twice now to do it. And yeah, I would be very wealthy, very famous. I'd be on every TV show talking about, because, dealing with troubled teens on live show and getting results and going into homes and doing that. Could you imagine that? That would be very valuable. But what's going to happen to those victims along the way? What's going to happen to those teenagers that are embarrassed on live TV, acting like idiots with their parents, and their parents just yelling and screaming? That's so undignified. It's so, yeah, makes me kind of feel sick just to think about that, putting that. And, if someone else does it, great. I'm not going to judge them for doing it, but I can't do it. Blah, 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 blah. 13-year-old rude to her mom, but not her stepdad as she has a bad attitude. Yeah, just work on your leadership skills. That's all this is. And with teenagers, with the little ones, you discipline them to get respect using that behavior board. With teenagers, you get respect, then you discipline. You got to get respect first. Use the behavior board, use it more as a bonding chart, a bonding board. If you want my help, teenagers, it's almost always coaching one-on-one. You're going to have to pay me for that if you want my help with that. Because teenagers are different. Every situation's different. It's more complex. What's the 13 years of history? Why are you where you are? See, there's a lot of delving into all that, and we have to do repair work. So yeah. Anyway, I'm not trashing the Kardashians by any means. It just wouldn't be my value system that I would want to put on my kids. That's all. We just have different value systems. Oh, you're asking about step moms. I don't really get into that, and I'll tell you why. I deal with that a lot in coaching, but I need a biological parent there. I need a guardian, a parent there too. I don't tell other people how to deal with other people's kids. They're not your biological kids, so that's why. Calm guidance. Yeah, The super nanny. Yeah, she's like I said, she knows what we're very different though, and she's not a mom. She talks about young children. Some of the methods that she uses, because I'm heavily experience based with teenagers, and I work backwards. I know how to get you into those teen years. Some of the stuff she does, um, it's good, but I've seen it, and I think, yeah, that could potentially build some resentment in the teen years. Potentially, just a couple little things I noticed, but she could find lots of fault with me too, I'm sure. So just different styles, right? Yeah, she knows what she's doing. You just watched The Super Nanny for the first time in years. Do you know why people like that show? I know exactly why they like it. It's when you're drowning, it's good to know you're not the only one. Like, if you're struggling with your kids and you see these other parents struggling with their kids too, doesn't it make you feel good? Like, parents aren't even always there to get advice. They're there to relate to someone else going through the same thing. That's why it's so popular. I totally get that. So for example, let them do chores and then I should redo them later if not done well. Is that fussy person? Is that you that we're taught? I say I don't put that on my kids. I didn't. Yeah, I did it myself later on. That's what I did. Like, they would make their bed, and it had to be decent, but they'd make their bed. Then I'd go in afterwards and do it properly. No, not properly. I would do it to my level. That was on me though, not on them. I was very, very particular about not putting that on them. Very particular about that. I was adamant because I love cleaning and organizing. It's my relaxation. It's like meditation to me, but I don't clean dirty. I maintain clean. So that's why I love entertaining. When people leave, I've actually got stuff to clean. So it's fun. That's the best part of entertaining is after they go, I get to clean up. And when I say clean, I clean everything after people go. The floors, the walls, the bathroom, the kitchen, everything. It takes me only about half an hour because it was never really dirty to start with. So you think I'd want to put that on other people? Do you think I think anyone else should be like this? No, it's just my own personal preference. But yeah, I would never put that on my kids. And I didn't. Hell yeah, when I watched The New Mom, I watched that for relief. Yeah. Relatable. That's the super nanny, right? You want to see other parents struggling. Doesn't it make you feel great? Uh, Like, I hate some of the stuff in my business. I just hate it. There's certain things, the back end. I love all the talking to you guys. This is the fun stuff. Talking to parents. It's all the back end business crap I hate. And whenever I see someone else who's also in business and they complain about that, I'm like, oh, thank God I'm not the only one who hates all that admin stuff. It's the back end stuff of business. I just can't stand it. Okay, I've started staying on the high road with toddler tantrums. They are much shorter now. That's when I always say you stay on the high road and wait till they join you there. That's why you ignore tantrums. You're on the high road, they're on the low road. You're in the calm, they're in the crazy. You don't look at them, you don't talk to them, you just stand there waiting. You're modeling calm behavior. You're modeling the high road. If you started interacting with them in the low road, the crazy zone, you're part of the mess. I just wait. And you're just saying that their tantrums are getting shorter, right? Because you're not joining them there, they're joining you. So that's the whole idea behind this. You're modeling this calm stuff. And by the way, I was only calm when I was disciplining. I was extremely loud, very goofy, and crazy. I used to chase my kids around the house with underpants on my head. I was crazy. So you only have to be calm when you're disciplining or when you're listening, when they're telling you stuff. But yeah, I was insane. So, and my kids knew I was the fun mom. I was the one that all the kids, thought it was crazy. And, I was nuts, but I knew how to get respect. So when I say calm, it's not serious. It's just, you calm, you just are all, it is a business transaction when you're disciplining, but you don't have to be a serious parent. I was not a serious parent. I was crazy. So, but that was just my style. That's why I don't talk about it a lot. That was just my style. I was fun and funny and crazy. That was my style. It's not for everybody. Thank God. I'd hate a whole world full of me. We need the calmer people in this world. But yeah, I'm hyperactive and crazy. So, but not with discipline. I'm very calm, very slow, very quiet. It's like, I'll tell you what we're going to do because you did that. That's how I talk. My kids used to say, my son especially, he was always the one to point stuff out. He'd say, if my mom ever whispers, run, because I get very calm when I'm disciplining. This always strikes me as funny. He was a teenager, and one of his friends said to him, "Would you ever get in trouble with the law?" Like they were just yabbing, right? And he says, "No, I'd be terrified my mom would get to me before the police could." You bet. But you're not supposed to let them see you correct it, right? What do you mean? But I don't know what you mean. But you're not supposed to let them see you correct it. Correct what? I don't know what you mean. I'll look out for your answer. Tess, oh, you've been on here before, haven't you? Tessa Grimm? I'll look out. You're not supposed to let them see you correct it. I'm very transparent. I let my kids see everything. Even when I was thinking about what I was going to do, I'd say, I don't know what I'm going to do about this. Let me think here. What do you think we should do? I usually ask my kids if they did something wrong. I'd say, what do you think the consequence should be? They would go, how about no TV tonight? And I'd say, it's too much. Just give me a scalp massage. So I was very transparent, very predictable. So I don't know what you're referring. You might be referring to something different, and I'm not getting it. But anyway, so let me know. The chores they've done, I mean. Oh yeah, my kids could have cared less if I went in later on and corrected it. They could have cared less because I never made a big deal out of it. I never criticized them for not doing it right. I used to say stuff like this, "Mom's a bus fart," and so I'd go in there and fix it up. It was laugh like they didn't care. So yeah, I absolutely would correct it. Absolutely. I never thought that they should be proud of being super clean. They should be proud of making their bed, putting their toys away, but all that extra toothbrush and cotton tips and Q-tip stuff that I did, I'm not proud of it. It's just my personal thing, but I'm not proud of it, if that makes any sense. It just makes me happy, brings me joy. Oh, they saw me all the time. Mom's going in with the Q-tips. But I actually don't enjoy cleaning in front of other people. They didn't see most of the nitty gritty stuff, but they knew I was doing it. So it didn't make them feel bad because I never made them feel like they didn't feel bad because I was correcting their cleaning. They could have cared less. How do you discipline a 3-year-old? Go on my website. It's bratbusters.com. My behavior board is free. And it is on the home page, and it starts at the age of 3. And it teaches you how to discipline. Okay, now, this is a good point because I knew exactly what that other mom was saying about the cleaning. I used to work at a daycare, and they told me, don't let them see you redo their work chores. I get that because then they don't have any sense of pride and they feel like they've done it wrong. I wouldn't have redone a lot of stuff my kids did. Like if they, I don't know, I can't think of it, but if they did some artwork or something, I wouldn't have fixed that up. But I didn't think that they should take any pride in being that extra fussy level. So it wasn't something that would have upset them in any way. They were very confident. They were very secure kids. But yeah, and plus daycare centers are institutions. Schools are institutions. They're not home. They're different. They can't criticize kids for doing stuff. I wasn't criticizing my kids anyway. They wouldn't have taken it that way. They were very secure. So, but yeah, you can't compare daycare and parenting. That's why so many of my clients are teachers and principals and child psychologists and social workers. They have child development degrees, but home-based parenting is different from any other relationship. I couldn't teach. I couldn't be a child psychologist. You know, the only people that have never hired me that I know of anyway is youth workers. I've never been hired by a youth worker. And I think I would know by their vernacular whether or not they were. I could probably figure that out pretty quick, even if they didn't want to tell me. But yeah, you know why? If you can get respect from a troubled teen, you don't need my help. That's my specialty is troubled teens. If you can get respect from a troubled teen, that is your PhD. Nothing else can beat that. So I've never been hired by a youth worker. Isn't that interesting? Well, okay, to me it's interesting. Makes perfect sense though. Yes, I thought daycare work prepped me for being a mom, but it's completely different. Completely different. Yeah, it just is. Because daycare workers, teachers are their carers, caregivers. Parenting, you're their leader. It's a completely different role. You're their leader. You're their source of pride, confidence, self-esteem, how they feel about themselves. That's your job, to build them up, make them feel good, turn them into problem solvers. Don't hand everything to them. Don't try and make life easy for them. Allow them to have some adversity. If they get a bad teacher, I went, yay, you're going to learn how to deal with difficult people. I never tried to save them from life. You know what I mean? Like from stuff like that. I kept them safe, but you know what I'm saying. Bum, 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 bum. Aw, someone said, Lisa's the best. 1 hour with her is money well spent, better than anything else we've ever tried. Oh, thank you. SLI. Thank you very much for that. I don't know who you are. Doesn't matter anyway. Okay. Thanks so much for that. At what age do you start ignoring fits? Mm, that's a tough one. You sort of always ignore them, but I would carry a baby around who's having a fit because I would be afraid they'd bang their head on the ground. So up to about 16 months old, I pick them up, but not facing me. I have them facing away from me, and I'm treating them like a sack of flour. I'm just walking around with them, ignoring them, not talking to them. I'm just walking around with them, like doing the dishes if they're not even there. So I do pick them up when they're really little. Babies are different from toddlers. Toddlers are different from preschoolers. 3 to 12. I have a course that's going to be released soon. I've got my small group going through it for the very first time. 3 to 12. It's kind of the same. 3 to 12. Believe it or not, you kind of parent the same. You're kind of the same leader with a 3-year-old and a 12-year-old. Teenagers, it changes. Under 3, it's a bit different. It's all actions. But anyway, and teenagers, it's all negotiations. But the one skill you carry through all those years is listening. You become a really good listener. You listen to understand. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. That's the one parenting skill I would say everyone should master. Listening. You listen to understand. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or else they will shut you out. My mother was great. I was lucky. I was adopted. I lucked out. I got great parents. Anyway, my mom was the master of listening. Everyone loved my mom. She was like just warm, funny, just most positive person I've ever met in my whole life. She always made lemonade out of lemons, and she had a lot of lemons, but she was really good at it. Never whined or complained. Anyway, but she used to listen. Every time I'd go to her with a problem, Mom, I was little. I can remember this. I used to go to her with a problem, and I would say, Mommy, what should I do? So-and-so did this. And then she'd go, well, I don't know. You're a smart girl. You can figure it out. And then we'd talk about it. And I always thought I was coming up with my own solutions, but she was guiding me along the way. I did the same with my kids. Mommy, what should I do? I don't know. Let's figure it out. And then what do you think you should do? Well, I said, that's a great idea. You know what I might do is this too. What do you think? Oh, yeah, yeah. So you're always guiding them along. That way, they're never going to rebel. They got nothing to rebel against. My son was 15 and he said, you've been a difficult mom. I was like, could have blown me over with a feather. I thought I was great. We were like close and I said, what do you mean? And he goes, I've got nothing to rebel against. You're too reasonable and easy to talk to. Wow. I said, fine, go clean your room. And he never did. Rebellion taken care of. So yeah, they don't rebel against, if you're not being a good listener, they got nothing to rebel. They're not going to rebel. Why would they? Our mom sounds so much alike. Yeah, my mom was great. And I'm not just saying that. Everyone said, your mom's great. Everyone said, you lucked out. And I did. My dad was great too, but he died when I was younger. But yeah. Everyone loved my mom. I remember having friends come over and they just talk to my mom. I remember being jealous. Is my mom that much better than you? Yeah, she is. Yeah. Okay, I remember you saying for teens, you listen, then shut up, LOL, unless they ask your opinion. Yeah, you listen to understand, especially with teenagers. You listen to understand and then shut up. Boy, that's hard for me, but I did it. I learned, it got easier because I knew how well it worked. So yeah, you listen to understand, then shut up. If they want your advice, they already know it anyway, by the way. They're not stupid. They already know exactly what you're going to say. But if they want your advice, they will ask. By the way, the better you get at shutting up after they've told you something, the more likely they are to talk to you and then start asking your advice. It just opens the gate like you wouldn't believe. So yeah, listen and then shut up. Now, I'm a talker. You can imagine how hard that was for me, but I did it because my mom was great at it. And I thought, gee, that works because I told her everything. Okay. I don't know. Can't read it all. There was something said before and I can't get, we have a next door neighbor, friends and kids play frequently. One is extremely rough, other can, very bad attitude. How do you handle other kids playing with yours? Yeah, the thing is, once your kids are past the age of 3 to 3.5 to 3 3/4, that's that 9 months in there. That's when they're not influenced by other people. They're so ingrained in your leadership that they're not influenced by other people, and that you can kind of teach them how to handle other people. But with that said, if another kid is being rough with my kids, I wouldn't have them over. I would just say to the other mother, I'm sorry, but your kid, Oh, what time is it? Okay. I'm sorry, but your kid is hurting my kid or something. So and then just leave it at that. But yeah, they can't be influenced by by bad influences because that peer pressure stuff they're just not influenced by other people when you're a really good leader. They just aren't. They tell you everything and they're guided by you, not by other kids. But if some other kid was being rough with my kid, goodbye. So I don't know if you're worried about your kid getting hurt or being influenced. There were two kind of different answers there. Is it the same for preteens? Is what the same? Oh, well, it's pretty much the same for all kids, any age. Like when my kids were little, and I kind of said the same thing right from the time they were 3. They'd say, "Mommy, what should I do?" I said, "Well, I don't know. Let's figure it out." Or they'd tell me something, and I would say, "Well, what are you going to do about that?" "I don't know." "Well, what do you think you should do?" So I was always guiding them into making decisions. Always. I was always pushing them to make decisions. And that's what I did with my teenagers. They'd tell me something. I'd say, "Well, what are you going to do?" "Oh, I don't know. I was thinking about this." I said, "Yeah, that sounds great. That's probably what I'd do." Or else I might say, "Yeah, I remember going through that. What I did was this, I don't know." So I always kind of was guiding them into making their own choices. And because they're talking to you, they just tend to make good choices. Oh, 20-month-old hitting their head, bad tantrums, she'll hitting her head. Okay. Toddlers who hit their head on the ground because they're having a tantrum, they're going to do that. They're just crazy, right? I actually have a course on that. It's one of my mini courses. It's on bratbusters.com. It's on toddler tantrum busting, I think it's called. And it goes into great detail about how you manage all that. If they start getting violent, they're hurting themselves or someone else or damaging property, just restrain them. Pick them up, have them facing away from you, hold the back of their head so they can't headbutt you. But yeah, you don't talk to them, you don't look at them, you're just physically restraining them. You got to keep them alive, right? So yeah, but you still ignore them, but you're physically restraining the violence, but you still ignore them. Any kid, and then some people say, well, you never ignore feelings. That we're not. It's not the feelings we're dealing with here. It's the actions. We're dealing with actions here. Feelings are long gone, by the way. Tantrums have gained momentum. They're like nothing else. There's no feelings in those anymore. You're not. It's nothing to do with feelings. By the way, they're only tantruming because they didn't get what they want when they want and how they wanted it. It's good for them to learn, but that's not always going to happen. They're not always going to get what they want. Oh my God, the same my friend would talk to and hang out with my mom whenever they came over. My mom had a way of making everyone feel good about themselves. That was her gift. She was funny. She was very fun to be with, but she had a way of, she never talked about herself really. She was just fun, just always had funny stories. And she had a way of making people feel good about themselves. That was her gift. 6-year-old, how to handle your kid pushing another kid while waiting in line. Oh, geez, don't we hate when adults do that too? Anyway, I would put on the behavior board, no pushing or no hurting other people, and explain why you're putting that on the board. Every time it happens, there's a consequence. If they're doing that, well, I don't quite understand. Is that at school or at home? I don't know where that is. So it kind of makes a bit of a difference. But let's say it's at school and it's a problem, the teacher brought it to your attention. I would say every time you do that, you're going to have to do a chores or something. But then you're also going to have to write a note of apology to that other student. How embarrassing for a 6-year-old to have to do that. I would make them do that. And also an apology note to the teacher for having to deal with it, but also have a consequence at home. And then I was telling this to a parent once, and they said, well, isn't that kind of shaming them? And I said, they just push someone. What? Like, they have to learn consequences. If you push someone, you might be a little bit ashamed. That's okay. Pushing was at swim. Yeah, just the advice I just gave. Yeah. Interesting, the apology note, I like that. Yeah, and there's 4 different steps to apologizing. It doesn't quite apply to this one, but apologizing is something all adults should learn this too. There's 4 steps to apologizing effectively. to make the other person feel validated, like it's a real apology. I hate that word sorry. People throw that around like they can murder someone. I said I was sorry. You're not very forgiving. Like, it's just the word sorry is so overused these days. It's ridiculous. Anyway, that's step one. You got to say it. It just starts the ball rolling. So it's not the important one, but just say, sorry, I did that. The second step is take full accountability. I should never have done that. That was all my fault. Don't ever say, I wouldn't have done that if you hadn't done that. And don't blame the other person for what you did wrong. So say, sorry, it was all my fault. I shouldn't have done it. The third step is make amends. What can I do to make it up to you? Okay. And then the fourth step is don't keep doing it again. It's the repetition that apology meant nothing if you keep doing the same thing over and over again. So yeah, say you're sorry, say it was all my fault. What can I do to make it up to you? So you're making amends. The fourth one is don't keep repeating it. A couple times is understandable if it's a habit of being late or whatever. But yeah, adults could learn this. I hate that word sorry. I said I was sorry. Like, I hate that. You know, when someone keeps me waiting in the rain for an hour or something, whatever, then they turn up and, oh, sorry about that. And then you're supposed to say, that's okay. It's just an automatic response. I don't say that. I say, oh, well. And then they go, well, I said I was sorry. And I said, I know. Like, where's the amends? Where's the, I didn't, like it was all my fault, And then they said, well, you're not very forgiving. They turn it all on you. Like, not only do they commit the crime, then they turn it around like it was all your fault. And now you're the one that's, it's just a manipulative tactic. And I'm onto that one. I said I was sorry. Whatever. My son, he was about maybe 1.5 or maybe almost 2. And we had this neighbor, and she had a real bully of a kid. They were the exact same age, and he was a bully, always hitting other kids. He turned into getting kicked out of high schools and everything. Years later, I found out they'd moved on. So I found out from someone else. They told me about the district bully who was kicked out of all the high schools. I said, was that such and such? And they said, yeah. And they said, how'd you know? And I said, I remember him when he was 2, and I knew he was always going to be a bully. Anyway, this was the mother. He would hit my son with anything he had in his hand, just conk my son on the head. And my son he was 2. He was a baby. He wasn't, you don't tell a baby to fight back. Anyway, I didn't want him doing that anyway. So I'd go running over because my son was crying because he hurt, right? And the other mom would say you're sorry. And he'd go, sorry. And then she wouldn't do anything, nothing. She wouldn't take the spade away or the shovel he was in the sandbox, nothing. Then he'd just keep hitting again. And I cut off the friendship. I never saw her again. I'm not going to have my kid being beaten up. But yeah, just say you're sorry. That's all. To her, that was what you do. Just say you're sorry, and you can keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. So yeah, people use that word. It's overused. I think I made my point. You're responding to Monica. I thought maybe my daughter has a lot of emotion and doesn't know what to do about it. I don't know. And I'm curious what you're talking about. Now you got a conversation going. Okay, here, let me see. I'm going to find out what you guys are. Every time people are talking to each other, I get real snoopy. Oh, and when my 22-month-old had tantrums while being bad, he slapped my face. Tantrums are not thought processes. They just go wild. It's sort of like expecting, a hose, when you turn it on and it goes like that, it's like that. Don't expect anything from them. Once they've lost it, they've lost it. They're not thinking. It's just a total loss of control. It has physically, mentally, it's just a loss of control. There's no thought process into that. Chores as discipline. Yeah, I use that a lot. Chores as discipline. And then parents will say of younger children, by the way, kids usually like chores until they're good at them. As soon as they're good at them, they lose interest. But anyway, even if they don't mind doing them or they like doing chores, it's still a good deed. So it's still often an effective discipline with little ones. I'm going to have to get going soon. Anyway, so it's still often an effective discipline or consequence because it's a good deed. Okay? But usually we don't want them to like it, but sometimes that's all we've got if they're really little. And that's okay. My 3-year-old screams, shut up when mad, should I ignore? Well, that's the real sign of disrespect. So you got to work on your leadership skills. Like, my kids have never told me to shut up or said they hated me or anything because I was a calm leader. And I never said that to my mom. Like, if you were a calm leader, that wouldn't happen at 3 years old. So work on your leadership skills. That's all it is. I would put no bad words on the behavior board, and I would say, and shut up is a bad word. Or bad words. I would say that. So put that on the behavior board. It teaches you how to start getting respect. Okay, so yeah, just means you're not a leader. That's all. We can fix that. We're never fixing kids. We're teaching adults. It's not about the kids. I worked with hundreds of kids. I always got respect from them. Was that them or me? Right? You lead, they will follow. It's just what it is. Toddler taking all the toys away from younger sibling. Well, I'm assuming the toddler's 3 and older. That's a preschooler to me. Toddlers are 1 and 2. So let's say you've got a 4-year-old who's taking away all the toys from a 2-year-old. That 4-year-old would lose all those toys and get to watch that 2-year-old play with all those toys for at least an hour without going near them. They could be having an absolute horrendous fit. I would be holding them back. If it's an ongoing thing, just hold them back and say, no, you took the toys away. They get that. Don't over explain stuff. They get it. So I would put that on the behavior board. If they're 3 or 4 and older, I would say no taking toys away. And as soon as they do, the younger one gets to play with all those toys. They learn. You got to go in tough, you got to go and just get the message done. Get it done. Don't drag it all out by just, it doesn't work that way. You're not a leader, you're a leader or you're not. There's no in between with this stuff. It's like you're either a leader and you take care of stuff or you kind of don't. Maybe I'll do it one day, but not the next. It doesn't work. They've got your number. They go, you're not really a leader because leaders are full time. I was 24/7. I was the same mom no matter where we went. I was 100% predictable. My kids knew exactly how I was going to handle every single situation. That's why they never asked me anything when they knew the answer was going to be no. Why would they? Right? Like if they'd asked me something ridiculous, I would have gone, what? What are you talking about? So my mother was like that too. She would have just gone, what are you talking about? So yeah, you're either a leader or you're not. It's very hard to be a little bit of a leader. It's just impossible. I'm going to do a video on that. You can't be a part-time leader. You're either in or you're out. Okay. My 20-month-old has my old Dyson. Yeah, they love doing anything with you until they're good at it. How to stop nursing? Well, I don't know about that. I do kind of. I mean, my son weaned himself. He was 10 months old. He just wanted to take my boob everywhere with him. He was one of those. I gave him the bottle. He was never happier because it was about movement with him. He wanted to be able to look around. And so he was 10 months old when he weaned himself. And I was so thrilled. I'll tell you, I took a beating. So anyway, but my daughter was 14 months old. And I always say I was going to wait till she got on her feet. She probably could have walked at 12 months, but she never wanted to get off the boob. So finally at 14 months, that was it. And I just started wearing different tops. So she couldn't get access to them. So, I didn't wean her off. That was it. Or I think, no, that's not true. Did I? Yeah, I can't remember. That was like 30 years ago. Did I? I don't remember. Did I? It doesn't sound like me to sort of have some feeds. And no, I don't think I would have done that. Like I said, you're either a leader or you're not. You either wean them or you don't. I don't think I eased her out of it. I think that was just it. Pretty sure that was just it. When do you start the behavior board? I have a 13-month and a year old. Yeah, it starts at the age of 3. Everything under that is consistent corrective actions. They learn through repetition and actions, not words at all. Those mini therapy sessions discussing all their feelings and everything, that's for you. That's not for them. That's just mini therapy sessions. Okay, I won't go on about it. You know how much I hate those things. Because they're so trendy right now and they're just so ridiculous. They don't make any sense at all. That's for the parent, not the child. Toddlers do not need a mini therapy session. Nobody does. Hours, screams, hits, wants to escape, yell. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, the nursery school one. I don't know what's going on and I have no context around that. I don't know what kind of parenting that child's getting. So, yeah. It doesn't add up to me. Like if there's a calm leader at home, that doesn't add up to me unless there's something horrible going on at daycare. Um, yeah, that would be coaching. If the parents are interested in me helping them with that, that would be coaching. I need context. I need to assess the situation. A whole bunch of stuffs like that. Okay, actually, I have a session soon, so I got to get going. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll be back again tomorrow. Don't email me your, your parenting questions. I just don't have time to do that. I'd be doing it all day long. This is where I answer parenting questions. If you want to hire me, you go on bratbusters.com. And if you want to buy one of my courses, that's bratbusters.com. I have toddler courses on there. My behavior board is completely free. It starts at the age of 3. Anything under that is just consistent corrective actions. They learn through repetition. Toddlers do not learn the first time or the 50th time. It might be the 100th time. It has to be consistent, though. Consistent. You can't forget one time and let it go. Anyway, I got to go. Thanks so much for joining me, and we'll talk tomorrow. Bye now.